This story is entitled The Slasher's Therapy Group, written by KRONIK'S. All throughout the 1980s, I preyed upon the residents of Oak Street as they slept in their beds. I took great joy in taunting them inside their dreams, before finally killing them with a glove in which I had welded 4 sharp blades to the fingers. But that was the old me. The dream demon was dead. I'm a new man now, with a new look. Plastic surgery has come a long way since the 80s. You can hardly notice my burns now. The wonders of modern medicine are truly miraculous. My new look on life is all thanks to the good folks here at the therapy group. I would still be killing if it wasn't for Keith. To him, I am eternally grateful. He taught me that there was much more to life than murdering people in their dreams. Life was a beautiful thing to be cherished. Since signing up for the rehabilitation program, I have not once felt the urge to kill. And I was no longer effing and geffing either. Only now do I realize how vulgar my language was as a younger man. There are others here too, who, like me, took a wrong path in life and are looking to fix their ways. One particular fellow and I go way back. He cut my head off with a machete once. But after getting to know him, I realize now that he is actually a big softy, despite his size. He doesn't say much, but I probably wouldn't be able to hear him through the hockey mask anyway. This place is filled with all kinds of interesting characters, from inbred cannibals to chainsaw maniacs and even a guy with a hook for a hand who lives inside a mirror. All have a place here. I also heard talk of a new arrival earlier. Apparently it's a killer doll who tried to steal a young boy's body. But anyway, the whole point of this is to let any fellow slashers out there know that killing is not the answer, and there is always a place for you here with us, amongst like-minded people who, together, will break the vicious cycle of murder and mayhem. The Slasher's Therapy Group is always open to all the tortured souls in need of some guidance. It is the chance of a lifetime to make right the wrongs that have been done. It helped me, and it can help you as well. For the first time in my life, I feel pure, free of all the torments and the rage that I had previously felt. My new calling in life is to give people happy dreams in which they are safe from any harm. The people of Oak Street are unaware that the demon who once stalked them in their dreams was now the one they called the Dream Angel. Once again, special thanks to Keith for believing in me when nobody else did. The second story is entitled Good Pig, written by KRONIK'S. I met Sabrina on a dating site for morbidly obese women. She was smart, sweet, and best of all, she weighed over 400 pounds. Just how I like them. A fat pig is a happy pig. We had been talking for months before eventually she agreed to meet with me and come and stay at my farm. I had butterflies in my stomach on the drive to her house, and as I came into her driveway, I saw her waiting for me on a mobility scooter. My eyes lit up. She was perfect. I got out of my car and greeted her with a kiss on the cheek. "You are much better looking in person," I said, winking.
"Thank you,"
Sabrina replied, blushing. I waited until she was in the car before plunging the syringe into her thick neck, then drove back to the farm with my new pig. Her new home had already been prepared. The old pig pen needed some use. Ever since my previous pig, Bethany, had died, the place felt dull, but Sabrina was going to change that. She was going to thrive in her new enclosure. She wasn't easy to get into the pig pen either. I nearly threw my back out trying to drag her in, but I eventually prevailed. After all, this wasn't my first rodeo. I'd been keeping pigs all of my adult life. When Sabrina opened her eyes, she looked at me. Then her eyes darted the room and landed on the skeletal remains of Bethany that were partially sunk into the wet, sloshy mud. She then started to scream. "It was a tragic thing that happened to Bethany. She just refused to eat," I said, as a grin formed on my lips. She continued to scream. It wasn't a problem. The farm was in the middle of nowhere, and she wouldn't be able to make such a racket for much longer. Not after I cut out her tongue and sewed her mouth shut. She passed out as soon as the scissors bit into her tongue, making sewing her mouth much easier. And once that was done, only one task remained: inserting the feeding tube. She opened her eyes as I cut into her fat belly and inserted the tube. She shivered and let out a whimpering sound through her nostrils. With the feeding tube now inserted, she could finally have dinner. And I had scoured every bin for 5 miles, gathering the finest slop for my pig. I blended it all up into a pink, slimy mixture. And when I started pumping the slop into her stomach, her body creased in on itself in agony. She tried to pull the tube from her stomach, but soon stopped upon my warning. "You don't want to do that." Bethany pulled her tube out, and look what happened to her. She has nothing but bones in the mud, I said, stroking Sabrina's head. "Now, eat your slop like a good pig." This last and final story is entitled Trick or Treat, Halloween 2022, written by Chronic Nightmares. Halloween used to be my favorite time of year. Something about the atmosphere always cheered me up and kept a smile on my face, from the horror movies to the general mood all around. Best of all were the trick-or-treaters. Those were what made Halloween truly great for me. All those sweet, smiling little faces wearing their costumes were always such a delight when they knocked my door and shouted in unison those predictable words spoken by every child on Halloween. "Trick or treat!" Yet now, hearing those words sends shivers up my spine and leaves me with a lingering sense of dread. And it is all my own doing. You see, those were not the only reasons why I loved Halloween. No. I loved the season of the witch for my own pleasures. Trick-or-treaters were nothing but easy prey that once they were at my door had found themselves trapped within my web. Chloroform always had them hitting the floor faster than you could say, dead kid. And once their limp bodies were inside my house, that was when the knives came out, and I got to work painting my new canvases. They were always unrecognizable after I was finished with them. A few of them I even posted to their parents in pieces. The police had no clue who the Halloween killer was, and I got a rush each time I got away with it. For 8 years, I killed one child every Halloween. It became a tradition of sorts. But last year, I didn't kill anyone. Not because of choice, but because my past quite literally came back to bite me. When I answered the door with a smile on my face, expecting to hear those familiar words, I jumped with fright. It was one of the children I had butchered. He was still wearing the Peter Pan costume that he wore the day I killed him, though it was now stained with blood. His eyes were gone, and in their place were bunched up maggots, all huddled up in a ball as they squirmed and fell from the empty sockets.
Trick or treat,
the dead boy said, gargling each word as blood dribbled out of his mouth. I slammed the door shut, but it wasn't long before someone was knocking again. I hesitantly opened the door once more. He was gone. Now it was a girl, still dressed in the Princess Leia costume she was wearing that night. Her face was cut to shreds. It was nothing but uneven cuts, forming an almost patchwork pattern. She looked at me with white, dead eyes.
trick or treat,
The dead girl said. I slammed the door again, but it was no good. They kept knocking. And when I looked outside the window, I saw all 8 of them staring back at me. The next day, they were gone, but there was something written on the window in blood. See you next Halloween.